Just sucking. All right.
Yeah. So we got the fuel tanks like I was talking about. You know, you want to fill them up with diesel fuel at all times. We got our hydraulic cooler and our engine oil our hydraulic oil cooler and our engine cooler here in the back with all our plumbing and hydraulic lines for all the cooling mechanisms and hydraulic oil. All we want to do is visually look at it, make sure we don't see any hydraulic fluid coming from any of the fittings. We have no leaks. Hit it with a water hose, leaf blower. I actually used a pressure washer before I came here. I was, you know, from a distance, but we just want to keep it clean and clear of debris and visually inspect it as often as we can.
So I can hit all that with a pressure washer?
Oh yeah. We don't want to be like on it,
yeah.
but I mean, you can hit it. I clean this thing with like for 15, 20 minutes with a pressure washer this afternoon. So
cool.
Yeah, we have a pressure washer at the shop we use. Coolant overflow. You know, obviously it will raise and lower as the fluids expand and contrast, but this is our overflow tank. This is our fuse relay box here, so all our fuses for the machine are located right here if we ever need to check. If the machine won't start for whatever reason and you are the kind of guy that wants to self-diagnose it, you can pull the fuses out, but typically you won't. But fuses, coolant overflow, hydraulic oil filter, and coolant for the actual engine here. So everything's easy access. You know, pop this open, just visually look at everything, hit it with a water hose, soap and water. Look at the fittings, you know, make sure if we don't see any dirt collecting around one of these fittings or any of the fittings for that matter. If you see a bunch of dirt getting junked around one fitting specific, you probably have a small hydraulic leak. So we just want to put a wrench on that and tighten it. You got a 12-volt power outlet here, diagnostic ports for us to do things. Basically, very, very simple back here. Moving our way around the machine, we've got the only grease fittings you have in the machine are going to be in the loader arms where everything pivots and moves. Every 10 hours, we want to get a shot or two of grease in there. There's nothing like a chipper bearing on here that's going to require grease every 5 hours, all day, every day. All it is your pivot points on your 4-link, your 3-link setup on your loader arms. We just want to get a shot or two of grease in there. We do have, this is the one everyone forgets about down here. We do have an emergency brake right here, only one on this side, and there is a grease fitting there. That's like probably every 50 hours. But we do, some people forget about that one. We do want to get grease in there whenever we can because that'll just keep that cylinder. So what'll happen is if this machine was on a hill, like an incline or a decline, obviously the piston is not engaged right now, but if it was on a hill and if the machine started to roll and it was not being operated, that piston would engage and it would lock out the sprocket, so it would act as like emergency brake.
Right.
Okay?
Now do I have to take that off to grease that?
No, there's a little fitting right there.
You can fit,
There's a little fitting right there.
Okay.
And then while we're down here on the tracks, so tracks are like tires on a car. They're not under warranty, right?
Yep.
So everything within the track system is basically the wearable items. Wearables are considered non-warranty items. Tracks, each individual roller, rear end idler, front end idler, sprocket will wear down over time. So all we want to do down here is keep it clean and clear of debris. Wash it out as often as we can. Hit it with a pressure washer, hit it with water and a hose, hit it with a leaf blower. The more often we keep dirt and debris out of the rollers, as often as we can keep it clean, the longer they'll last, because sand will just eventually wear things down. It's like sandpaper.
Yep.
So if everything is clean and everything is maintained correctly and everything is appearing and working fine, everything's working good, and this roller fails us, we could probably go to the factory and be like, hey man, listen, we got one faulty roller, one faulty idler, you know, can you help us out with the warranty? And if they determine it's a manufacturer's defect, then they'll get it warranted. This thing is covered in mud and hasn't been cleaned in 6 months, we have a conversation, right?
Yeah, for sure.
There is another grease fitting here, and there's one on the other side, but there's a front end idler, which is basically what keeps tension on the tracks, and it's a spring-loaded idler, so basically it gives you a little bit of flex in this front idler. So if you hit something or when you're moving, it just gives you a little bit of flex in the front idler. It acts as like a little suspension system. So we do have one more grease fitting here, and the other grease fitting down there. That's the only two grease fittings in here that we want to really worry about. Track tension. So right now the tracks are pretty tight. They move about 2 inches. I could step on them. They seem pretty sturdy. The tracks will initially stretch. What'll happen is they'll go from almost like a triangular shape to almost like an oval shape, and then you really start to hear them slap a whole lot because they have a lot of play in there. So what we want to do is we want to tighten up the tracks. So we'll just take off this bolt out. We'll take this lock washer out, and then we just get a larger wrench on this bolt right here. And it is not righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. It's lefty-tighty, righty-loosey. So it's opposite. But all we're going to do is pull this bolt out and this washer off, and we're going to take this bolt and we're going to push it forward so it pushes that front idler forward, and we're going to put track tension on the track. So it's like a chainsaw, chain on a chainsaw.
Yep.
We do not want to over-tighten these tracks, so they're so friggin' tight that we basically have over-tightened them, and we don't want them too loose. We want them right in the middle. And generally speaking, it's got a little flex. There is a tool that I'll show you how it works, but generally speaking, it's just a little bit of flex on each track. If we over tighten the tracks, there's cleats in each one of these areas. If we super tighten them, the strength of this motor and these drive sprockets will just, they won't like rip the cleats out, but over time they will start to rip the cleats out prematurely. Yep. So you want a little flex on the tracks. Keep it clean and clear of debris, keep the track tension looking good, and you're dialed in right there. That's all you need to worry about. Loader arms. The 3-pivot loader arm. It's what we call a vertical lift. It's going to keep the load as close to the machine at all times and over top the machine at all times, so it's going to be able to pick up as much weight as it can versus a radial lift. So this is a vertical lift. Loader arms have a 3-year standard warranty from Vermeer. So I have seen at 2 years, 11 months, and 20 days, a weld crack. They'll throw a brand new set of loader arms on there. I've also seen customers try to repair it themselves and stitch weld it. Don't do that. Just bring it to us. Let us replace it on a warranty. A 3-year loader arm warranty. Yep. I have never seen a CTX100 loader arm fail. I've seen a 925 TX loader arm fail, but never a CTX100. Super strong, super durable loader arms. Speaking of warranty, we've got 3-year, 3,000-hour loader arm warranty. We've got the 2-year, 2,000-hour engine warranty from Kohler directly. We will do the work for you or get it to a Kohler dealership for you. We have a 1-year, 1,000-hour warranty, all Vermeer related, excluding wearing items. Tracks, rollers, bearings. There's no bearings on this machine. Tracks, rollers, filters, oils, fluids, stuff like that. Okay? Everything on the loader arm, like I said, at pinches and pivots, has a grease fitting. We do have a grease chart here. Pretty simple. It's got a 10-hour spot, and that is it. Everything is at 10 hours. So you'll see a 10-hour slot. You'll see a grease gun. It looks like a grease gun. It's got 2, 2, 2, 10-hour, 1, 2, 2. The 2 inside the grease gun requires 2 shots of grease. 2 shots of grease. This requires 1 shot of grease. So as you can see, this is the front spring. That's 1 shot of grease every 10 hours. This is the emergency brake. That's 1 shot of grease every 10 hours. So basically it's every 10 hours, get 1 or 2 shots of grease in all your pivot points, and that's it. Sweet. You got your warning decals that are telling you what not to do. Yep. So on the grapple, any attachment for that matter, we want to have it off the ground so it's not under pressure, under load, and we just simply pick up our dog ears, we rotate them to the right or rotate them to the left, and they'll just lock into place. Sometimes if you put an attachment on the front of the machine, the dog ears won't fall into the holes because they're just not lined up correctly. So what I'll do is just jump on the machine, turn it on, and I'll just jiggle the joystick, and typically they'll just fall right into place. Okay. Perfect. We've got dual hydraulics. We've got low flow side, high flow side. Low flow is skinny, high flow is fat. Low flow is the bullhorn because it does not lock into place. So for example, grapple. All we're doing is opening and closing the grapple. So we're going to use the skinny side because we're going to use the bullhorn, and we cannot lock it open or close. So we're just opening the grapple and closing the grapple. Simple as that. If you put a high flow attachment on the low flow side, you'll figure it out. If you put a low flow attachment on the high flow side, you'll figure it out. So low flow skinny, high flow fat. For example, stump cutter attachment or the brush hog attachment, the mulching attachment. High flow joystick, we actually located the stump cutter handle here as well. But what you'll do is you can lock it forward or you can lock it reverse, and that's a high flow side. If it's under load working and something stops it dead in its tracks, 9 times out of 10 it'll automatically fall back into neutral, but you may need to kick it out sometimes. But high flow, low flow. Very, very simple. Loader arms. If I pick these loader arms up as high as they go, and I ever wanted to pick up this machine with like a crane for whatever reason, put it on top of like a roof or like a 6-story building, or doing like a remodel of a pool or whatever you're doing, you could physically lift the entire machine from this lifting point right here. So you would lift it from here, and then where I chained it down to the rear, you can use it as some guidelines, but you can lift the entire machine all the way in the air, have the loader arms up, and then pick up from this entire point right here. On the bottom of the machine, it's a true 6-inch ground clearance. It's got a flat deck on the bottom. It's got some welded gussets for strength, if you will, but the majority of the machine underneath is all welded flat. You can pick it up with a set of pallet forks as well. So if you had like a loader or an excavator, you needed to move it and it was dead in the tracks, you can pick it up with some pallet forks, or you can pick it up from this guy right here. Perfect. The grapple does have a couple grease fittings as well. It says grease all fittings every 8 hours. So when you're greasing this machine, just hit the grease fittings on this attachment as well, and that's basically going to be the pivot points as well. Same with the grapple attachment, all the hydraulic lines. If you notice one has got some fluid building up around it with some dirt on it, we might just want to make sure that that fitting is tight. These guys may come loose because as this grapple rotates and moves daily, The lines will move daily. Everything has been snugged up from us, but we just want to keep an eye on the grapple attachment, make sure no hydraulic leaks. And then obviously you'll notice a puddle of fluid on the ground, figure out where that puddle is coming from, tighten up that fitting. If we lose yay amount of fluid, we don't have to worry about it. But if we lose half a gallon of fluid, we're probably gonna need to add a little hydraulic fluid.
Is it what kind of specific hydraulic
We
fluid?
use Vermeer Gold, but I mean, you could use just standard hydraulic oil fluid. I mean, you know, we got hydraulic fluid. They're in the manuals. You can cross-reference everything, but it's just standard hydraulic fluid, equipment hydraulic fluid. We've got a D-ring up here for strapping down the machine or pulling it, or if you needed to, like, if you were dropping a giant pine,
Yep.
and you wanted to pull in a certain direction, you could use that D-ring right there to kind of pull a tree, which way you wanted. The hood, well, the hood is pretty lightweight metal, but it is metal, which is nice. The front hood is really thick and sturdy steel. To get this front hood off, you've got 1 bolt, 2 bolt, 3 bolt. We would pull off the entire front hood, and then we actually have our battery located here, our hydraulic pumps, and our hydraulic motors are all underneath this panel right here. So to get to the battery, we actually need to pull that off, but what we've given you, if you have a dead battery,
Yeah, I saw this.
you got a positive, and then we just ground it out to a negative, and then you can jump it or charge it or do whatever you got to do, but they do give you that access as well.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Same track system over here, so just keep an eye on it, tighten it, loosen it, keep it clean and clear of debris. If I'm correct. No emergency brake, but we do have the grease fitting here for the one track tensioning idler in the front. Go ahead and just get greasing that guy every 10 hours. All your pivot points. So we have a safety lockout. It will rattle a little bit. It's on the machine. We can lift these loader arms up as high as they go.
Slide it in there. Yeah.
There's a cylinder right there. We would lock out the cylinder, so it means it's not being able to be used. It's being serviced, whatever the case may be. We've got hard lines to the fittings up front, and we've got soft lines back here. So if and when we ever do need to replace a hydraulic line, if we ever need to, it's really easy to do so. All our hydraulic lines are bolted together, or fitted together. Very, very easy to get to everything. They've really done a good job of making this machine as user-friendly as possible. So, fire it up. I got my platform I stand on. I've got my throttle here. I've got my bullhorn to open up my grapples. Quick still on the grapple, so if we had an odd shaped piece of material, it will grab whatever appears. It'll grab what it needs to grab. Push it down. If I give it more power, it'll obviously work quicker. We've got joystick control, up, down, left, right for curl. Curl. I got my single joystick for driving it. Right, very, very simple there. That's hydraulic pressure, so we'll pick that up. So we'll pick this up on the way. So we got 86 inches at the hinge pin, which is gonna be this guy right here. So that's our true lift point. That's 86 inches, so if you had it as high as it is right now with like a stump that big in the grapple,
Yep.
if you have to go through a gate or whatever the reason is, and you got to go through something that you got to lift it up as high, nice and slow.
Go slow, yeah.
Because physics will come into play.
Yep.
All that good stuff. I had a 6'3", 300+ guy hurt himself bad because he was the owner, not the operator. He was the owner. He thought he was going to jump on it, and he was doing this, and the ground dropped off on him all of a sudden. That thing rolled on him, and that thing catapulted him so far, and had to replace the engine, had to replace a couple ribs, so it was bad.
Yep.
So as high as the machine is, we want to keep it nice and low and slow. The idea is obviously keep the load as close to the ground as possible as you can at all times, but obviously I know things will change and things will come up, but just, it may look small and cute, but it's damn heavy and sturdy, right? This thing will break your foot in a heartbeat.
Don't ever call my machine cute, dude. Come on, man. Don't do that to me.
So we've got a pulse cylinder here to release the hood. Locks in place, and we'll release it, pick it up, just pull that back down, it falls into place, but it goes all the way up to lock it. We have our air filter here, so we've got an outer and an inner air filter. We just release this guy here. I'm sorry, not that first. Release this guy here. This comes down, and then I can release these two buckles. I can pull this off, and I can take the filters out. We want to clean the filters. There's an outer filter and an inner filter.
Should we blow that out daily, or?
I say weekly or bi-weekly, but the more
Depending on what you're doing, obviously.
exactly.
Yeah,
if you're like in a very if you're working in this kind of stuff and it's really kicking up a lot of dust, probably do that. But if you're working in a nice landscaped grass and no dirt,
moving some
you're good to
branches
go.
and stuff,
Exactly. Always make sure we obviously put this back on. Throws into place. Grab the buckle. And buckle it in place, and there you go. So you got your filter there. Hydraulic oil tank. Engine dipstick.
Now, is there a glass or something to see
oil
if we need to add?
Or is
there a dipstick or something?
Probably a dipstick on this, actually. It's a good one. There's the pre-filter.
Is there a sight glass on the side or anything?
Yep, there is. I'm sorry, right here. I should know that. Okay, so we got the hoods up as high as it can go, right? So what we can do now, you want to do is kind of slow, because these come up, these come out, and then you have these both come off just like this. You have access to the engine on all 4 sides, or all 3 sides, right? So we've got our hydraulic oil sight glass here, engine oil dipstick here, cooling fans, cooling radiator, all your componentry, your hydraulic drives. So you pull the other side off, you have access to the other side. If you pull this black hood off, you have access to everything. So I mean,
now here's where we would add oil.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
this makes it really easy for our guys in the service department to maintain the machine, man. I mean,
down here's the serial numbers and stuff.
Well, that's the engine serial number, and then there's this guy here for the machine serial number. I've got everything already written down, so all the paperwork, we already have everything registered with you at the factory. But yes, engine block serial number, unit serial number. So it doesn't come with a title, because it's not driven, dragged, or trailered down the road. So it's just a standard machine from Vermeer. They will give you like a certified letter if you want one, but it's basically just a paperwork is going to justify all that.
And this is the oil filter in here,
yep,
right?
Exactly. Yep. And then we've got the hydraulic oil filter in the back, which I showed you, which is right back here.
Yep.
So to get these guys in place, they are kind of tricky. You just slide them up. Slide them in. We always want to make sure they fall into the grooves, though. So there's a groove back here, and there's a groove up here, and then you'll notice there's that. So this guy, that guy's there. So see what I did right here? Look, it's kind of kicked out a little bit. We don't want that. This guy. Perfect in place. So you just look back here, see that like notch in that groove?
Yep.
There's the rear end notch in the groove, there's the front end notch in the groove, and we just want to make sure that this guy falls underneath, behind this seam right here. Because if it's out for whatever reason, and this loader arm goes down, put a nice scratch right there.
Yep.
You know, keep putting a nice scratch right there. So we just want to make sure this guy goes in the correct way, and this guy goes in the correct way. And that's that. 2-year, 2,000-hour engine warranty from Kohler. Listen, I have had very few issues with our Vermeer mini skids. Amongst all things that they manufacture for the EV or environmental side, I feel like their mini skids are built with the most pride. Yep. Chippers, stump grinders, great machines, but they're super violent and they break.
Oh yeah.
Mini skids, they're kind of like the sewing machine of the group. They run, they run, they run. So we always want to make sure we put the hood down, right? Because we don't want to keep the hood up and drop the loader arms and damage the hood for whatever reason. Hood goes down. That's that. This is where we would put the lockout.
Yep.
Like I said, most important thing is just safety. Obviously, operating with respect and doing what you need to do, and make sure you don't kill yourself, hurt anybody, whatever the case may be. So we operate it. We just jump on. We turn the key on. Loader arm down. So I like to operate the grapple like such. I like to rotate it forward. I like to open it. I like to go down on a pile. I like to go down onto a pile. Pick it up. Pick up the pile. And pick it up and rotate it at the same time. You do have the feet on the bottom, but you gotta you'll get the hang of it over time. That's what happens. You may rip up some grass, you may whatever. Now, as far as operating these on grass, right? They're heavy, they got tracks, they will rip up the grass, but the idea is long stroke, long, subtle sweeps, right? We just do long, subtle sweeps with a better chance of not ripping up the grass. We just do this move, and rip the grass, right?
Yep.
And then obviously, throttle. So to disconnect the grapple and put a different attachment on, we got to turn the engine off so we're not under hydraulic pressure.
So when you turn the engine off, the hydraulic pressure
should cut off, but right now it's under load. So what I'll do is I will jump on the machine, We'll turn the key on. And we'll take the bullhorn. Now we'll move it around. You actually heard a little bit of movement.
Yep.
We're releasing some hydraulic pressure. We can even push this one back and forth right here. Over time, it'll kind of fall. It'll kind of like loosen up, if you will. But initially, we want to loosen up the hydraulic pressure. And let's get this guy off. Pull this guy off. Now I did zip tie these up on here because if not, they're pretty darn long.
Yep.
But like any hydraulic fitting, always make sure the couplers are nice and clean before we reinstall them. You know, go ahead and.
Now, does it matter which one goes under which?
Well, you got male, female, female, male.
Oh, there.
So
Okay.
it'll only go on one side. You know, this guy's kind of a pain, so we just get up here like so. That guy's there. Like I said, if you're fighting these things,
So they just push on.
they just push on. If you're fighting them, which sometimes you can, walk over because they won't connect. You're like, you got 3 guys pushing, they just won't go. Go over here, turn the key on to the on position, not engine on.
And then just move
Release
the
pressure.
pressure.
You may have to repeat the cycle 2 or 3 times. You just do that, and you're done. So we come over here, release our hydraulics. Release our hydraulics. I like to take these guys and we just wrap them up like so. Tuck them away, or even tuck them like so. So like that. I'll take my pins. I'll rotate my pins up. Now when I grab an attachment, or when I let go of an attachment, it's easy. When I grab an attachment, after a few times of doing it, you get the hang of it. But what I like to do is I like to look at either the top right or top left corner. If I try to focus on both, I'm just gonna fight it all day long. So I just focus on that top right or top left corner. I know if that left is sliding into place just where it's supposed to slide into place, I know that right's gonna fall right into place. So where do you wanna put this?
I can just put it right over there for now.
Look at the top right or top left corner. I like to rotate the plate downward a little bit. Come up to it. Down. Go one side in, the other side in. Slide it in, and then I just drive forward and rotate back. Good. From there, I would drop the machine, I'd rotate my pins in, and I would just lock it into place.
This is the Erskine stump grounding attachment. He's gonna get in the bucket and the tree boom right now. You gonna move the tree boom?
Okay, leave that in there.
Leave it in there?
I'm gonna pick up at the same time. Yeah.
My Vermeer Rep. He's awesome.
Can you push it in as far as it goes? Perfect. Perfect.
Big Australian pine stump. We use it for a table.
The tree boom's a pain in the ass because it doesn't sit flat. You know, it doesn't. So what you'd want to do is you're probably gonna want to like mount it up on something like the side of a trailer. something like that, because
Oh yeah.
if it's completely flat in the ground,
Yeah, it's hard to do. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, easy enough.
Exactly. Everything's all serial numbered.
I love that tag.
You know, exactly. Made in USA.
Made in the USA.
All Nashville, Tennessee. So, you know, hey, listen, I've got so many of these attachments on hand. Like, if this thing failed you for a reason, I'll just like borrow one from you, repair it, fix it, or whatever we got to do, right? Pretty darn good. And this guy. Where's that? Let me get this picked up.
Money making attachment right there.
So with this guy, I should have probably put it on the trailer and maybe rotate it to the left a little bit, because the way it's shaped, you notice how it was rolling on me. So this is nice and flat, but if you rotate to the left a little bit, it'll kind of act like a kickstand. So we'll drop that in place. You have some grease fittings on these pins as well. We've got...
Now this will be high flow, right?
This is high flow, exactly. So we've got a 6-pin trailer connector, if you will. Same thing as like a trailer on the back of a truck. And this guy is going to go to... This guy is high flow, because we need continuous pressure. So we'll take this guy here.
So the high flow is like me, fat.
Yep, fat side, exactly. High flow.
Wow,
fat
I said
side.
it's like me, fat. And you said, yeah, you just agreed too quickly, Pete. I was going to say the low flow is like you, nice and skinny.
So you got the little notch right there and the notch up top here. We just want to make sure we match them up perfectly. This guy falls into place. This guy in all the way. So it's in. That locks it in. So this is the electrical connection is going to allow us to rotate left, right, up, and down.
Yep.
And we've got our high flow side. Male, female, female, male. So we're going to go this guy here. Away. This guy here. In. And then what we got going on here. Goes there. All right, so you're probably looking up here and saying, why is there a third one? This is a case drain. The mulcher might actually have a case drain. Case drain is if you have an attachment, almost like a stump grinder, or I think the mulcher might have one, but what it is if you're mulching and you bite off more than you can chew, and it stops that mulcher or that attachment dead in its tracks, rather than all that pressure in those hydraulic lines keep being fed to the hydraulic motor, which could potentially blow the seals. The case drain will recognize it's got way too much pressure, it's under too much load and too much pressure, and it'll bypass the hydraulic line back into the case drain. This case drain puts it right back into the tank. So basically it's a relief valve.
Gotcha.
Okay? But you're never gonna need this on this attachment or everything you have. So we've got our pins locked in. We connected our 6-pin electrical connection. We did our high flow connector here. It's gonna go to the big black joystick, which is our high flow side. And like I said, the high flow will lock in place, right? Unlike the low flow, which does not lock in place. So we're fired up. Joystick has 4 buttons on it. The top 2, I need hydraulic pressure. For the top 2, are for left and right. And this is for up and down. Okay? Turn on. Up. Down. Left. Okay? Right. Down. I'm in idle right now. That wheel is spinning a whole lot faster. Up, down, left, right, left. Go across the stump, right, down, slow down myself. So for the up, down, left, and right, you have the left, right, but you need to use the button, but you also have this option here, right? You can use the loader arm to pick it up or pick it down, up or down. Now, it's gonna take a little getting used to, but not like our typical stuff tires, the wheel goes forward, this actually goes backwards and push the material away from you. So you simply just give it high speed. You always have to use full power. Full power. Full power. So you've got electrical connection for the handle. You've got all your hydraulic lines for the power. Get a relief valve here so we can adjust pressures if we ever needed to. You've got some electrical componentry, so if you have the option to put it under something, you know, all our stuff is designed.
It's going to go in the barn over
all
there.
our stuff is designed to sit outside.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you have the option to keep it inside, it works a whole lot better. The teeth we can get from us. So this is your gearbox. This is your gearbox drain. They recommend changing the gearbox oil every year. So, you know, there's really not an hour meter on this. So you would just kind of go off what the hour meter on the machine says and then kind of say, all right, I think I maybe used it 37 times last year. So just drain the gearbox oil, put new gearbox oil in there. Keep an eye on all these fittings as well, because these fittings, like I said, if you have any collecting of dirt, debris around one specific fitting, that might mean you have a leak somewhere. You do have some grease fittings here. You have a grease fitting here. You have a grease fitting here. You have a grease fitting here, a grease fitting here. And I don't think you have a grease fitting on this bad guy. Let me take a look here. Nope, no grease fitting here, so you're good. And it spins backwards. Listen, I hate to say it, this thing will probably rip eventually.
Oh yeah.
You'll just have to figure out how to get creative with maybe like an auto floor mat or something like that, or else you can get these from Erskine directly online, whatever the case may be. It is serial numbered. It has a full 1-year warranty from Erskine, so that's that, man.
Perfect.
That's your machine.
That's it.
You happy?
You're the man, Pete.
You've been great, dude. I really appreciate it.
Hey man, I'm gonna put this on my YouTube and stuff. So you know, you want to tell people how they can get a hold of you there? And
Pete Wallace, Vermeer Southeast, out of the Boynton Beach location. You can contact any Vermeer Southeast rep, Florida, Georgia, or Alabama. My phone number is 561-459-6649. Call me anytime.
Dude's been awesome, man. He worked his tail off to get this thing as fast as he could for me. Got delivered to him yesterday in Boynton, and he brought it up today. So can't say enough good things about him.
Appreciate that.
If you guys have any questions at all, you know, about this thing, give me a shout. I'm going to post some videos, you know, using the stump grinder. I have a forestry mulcher coming for it. There's only one company in the world that makes it, and it's being shipped to me this coming Wednesday. So when I get that thing going, I'll post videos of it too. So post any comments or questions that you have in the comment section there. And then obviously, if this video helped you out at any, hit that like button.